Good evening, folks. This is Steve Hodges. Settle in, grab a coffee or maybe a warm tea, and let's take a journey. A journey not just through time, but through the very fabric of life itself. Today, we're going to dive into a story that sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie, but I assure you it's grounded in cutting-edge science. A story about how artificial intelligence of all things is helping us rewrite the rules of evolution. Let's start with something fundamental: proteins. Now, you might be thinking, proteins? Isn't that just something in my diet? Sure, proteins are in your eggs and your steak, but they're so much more than that. They're the microscopic machines that power every cell in your body. They're the gears, the tools, and sometimes even the architects of life. From the strands of your hair to the enzymes in your gut, proteins are everywhere, doing everything. Now, one protein in particular has captured the imagination of scientists for decades: the green fluorescent protein, or GFP for short. Picture a jellyfish floating in the deep, dark ocean. A pulse of green light flickers from its translucent body like a living lantern. That glow comes from GFP, a molecule so fascinating it won its discoverers a Nobel Prize. Why is GFP so special? Well, it's a kind of natural flashlight. This protein doesn't need batteries, doesn't need external chemicals to glow. It takes light from the environment, absorbs it, and then re-emits it as this beautiful, vivid green glow. Scientists love GFP because they can attach it to other proteins like a microscopic glow stick to track what's happening inside cells. It's been used in everything from cancer research to mapping the brain. But here's the catch. For all its brilliance, GFP and its relatives are rare gems in nature. Evolution took millions upon millions of years to craft these glowing proteins. Think about that for a second. Millions of years of trial and error, random mutations, and natural selection, all to produce this one luminous molecule. Now imagine if we didn't have to wait millions of years. What if we could speed up evolution? What if we could design entirely new proteins, ones nature has never seen before, in a fraction of the time? Enter ESM3. Sounds like the name of a spaceship, doesn't it? In a way, it's just as revolutionary. ESM3 is an artificial intelligence, but not just any AI. It's a language model trained to understand the language of life. Let me explain. But here's the wild part. ESM3 doesn't just read these sentences, it writes them. It can predict how proteins might evolve, how they might function, and even design entirely new ones. In a sense, it's simulating evolution, compressing the work of millions of years into something that happens in the blink of an eye on a supercomputer. Now, let's focus on one particularly mind-blowing achievement. Using ESM3, scientists set out to design a new fluorescent protein, a distant cousin to GFP. The goal was ambitious: to create a protein that was as different from natural GFP as 500 million years of evolution would make it. Think about that. It's like asking a sculptor to carve a statue that could have existed on another planet. They called it esmGFP. At first glance, esmGFP looked a lot like its natural cousins. But when you dug into its DNA and protein structure, it was a whole different story. Its sequence was only 58% similar to any known fluorescent protein. To put that in perspective, that's the kind of genetic distance you'd find between entirely different families of animals. It was, in every sense, a biological pioneer. And here's the kicker. They didn't stop at the computer model. Scientists synthesized esmGFP in a lab, inserting its genetic code into bacteria to see if it could actually glow. The result? A faint but unmistakable green fluorescence. It wasn't as bright as the natural GFPs at first, but with a few tweaks, it began to shine just as brilliantly. This wasn't just a theoretical breakthrough. It was a living, glowing proof of concept. So, what does this mean? Why does it matter that we can create new proteins with AI? The implications are enormous. Imagine proteins that could clean up plastic waste, neutralize viruses, or even capture carbon from the atmosphere. We're talking about designing the future of life itself, not by mimicking evolution, but by steering it. But let's pause for a moment. With great power comes great responsibility, right? The ability to design life isn't just a scientific tool. It's a Pandora's box. What happens if we misuse this technology? What if we create something we can't control? These are the questions we have to grapple with as we move into this brave new world. And yet, there's something deeply human about all of this. At its core, ESM3 and its creations aren't just about proteins or AI. They're about curiosity, about our drive to understand, to create, to push the boundaries of what's possible. It's a reminder that, for all our flaws, we're a species that looks at the glowing jellyfish and wonders, what if? As we wrap up, think about this. Evolution has been shaping life for billions of years, following the blind paths of chance and necessity. Now, for the first time, we hold the pen. The question is, what story will we write? That, my friends, is a question for all of us to answer. This is Steve Hodges. Thanks for joining me tonight. Keep your eyes on the stars, your curiosity alive, and let's keep exploring the mysteries of the universe, one glowing protein at a time.